Senator Fifield.
Mr Deputy President, let's be absolutely clear. The BDS campaign is part of an orchestrated campaign to delegitimise the State of Israel. And senators, including Senator Brown, who refuse to condemn the BDS movement, are well deserving of a motion that decries their incapacity to condemn the BDS movement. And that's why the suspension should be granted. Mr Deputy President, there is no human rights element to BDS. There is no high purpose or motivation behind the movement. It dresses itself up in the clothes of the anti-apartheid movement, that great and successful movement that sought to fight the abomination of separate racial development in South Africa. But in so doing, in dressing itself up in the mantle of apartheid, it debases and devalues that noble campaign which was successful in ending apartheid in South Africa. And there is no comparison, there can be no comparison between the State of Israel and apartheid-era South Africa. Israel is a free and a democratic state. The rule of law prevails. There is freedom of speech, there is freedom of association, there is freedom of assembly. South Africa was a nation where citizens were not all equal before the law. The Middle East, in contrast, is a land where two peoples, Israelis and Palestinians, ultimately seek a two-state solution. They seek two states to live side by side in peace and security. And sanctions, boycotts and disinvestment will not help the creation of a two-state solution. A two-state solution which I support, a two-state solution which everyone on this side of the chamber supports. And neither will denying the legitimacy of the State of Israel help the goal of a Palestinian state. The real goal, Mr Deputy President, of those who support BDS is not a two-state solution. The movement is not pro-peace. The movement is not pro-Palestinian. The movement is unequivocally and unashamedly anti-Israeli and anti-Jewish. And, Mr Deputy President, although boycotts, I think, are misguided, people should feel free to buy or not buy whatever product they want. But what must be condemned are secondary boycotts. What must be condemned is intimidation. What must be condemned is denigration of a people. What must be condemned are lies about a nation. What must be condemned are the shadows of anti-Semitism, which we see in the placards, outside Max Bremer coffee shops around the world. What must be condemned is that shadow of anti-Semitism, which we hear in the chants and the cries of those who are protesting outside legitimate businesses, the protest outside businesses which are simply trying to earn an income, to make a living and to employ people. We must, in Australia, stand against those who seek to prevent freedom of association. And that's what they do seek to do by these secondary boycotts, is they seek to prevent people going into a shop of their choice. And that is opposing freedom of association, Mr Deputy President. Now, what astounds me, Mr Deputy President, in the response of the Australian Greens today is that the motion that Senator Boswell moved actually seeks to praise a member of the Australian Greens. That's right. I could not think of a more benign motion from the point of view of the Australian Greens, Mr Deputy President. This is a motion that Senator Brown should have embraced. Senator Brown has sought to differentiate himself from the New South Wales Greens. He has sought to differentiate himself from Marrickville Council. He has sought to differentiate himself from the Greens candidate in the New South Wales state election for the seat of Marrickville. Well, today what he has done is to line up fairly and squarely with Marrickville Council, with the Greens' former candidate and with the BDS movement. No nation is perfect. The nation of Israel isn't perfect. It doesn't claim to be, but it is free, it is democratic, it deserves the support of the Australian nation, As a friend we can make criticisms, but we should stand by Israel and its right to exist.
Order. Senator Fifield.